Well, first of all, I'm here as part of the Solanus choir. I was asked by a fellow parishioner at St. Isidore's choir to join the choir here, and it was a special honor for me because of the way in which, through the years, Father Solanus has held a dear place in my family's life and in our hearts. When my son was 5 years old, back in '96, he was diagnosed with ALL, acute lymphocytic leukemia. And at that time, I had just begun my studies at Sacred Heart Seminary. And the news, of course, as it traveled through the church and my fellow students, my peers at the seminary, had gotten word to, it was Dr. Bill Reardon was my instructor for Catholic Church in its life. And I had also been taking the children, especially my youngest, my son John is the one who was diagnosed with leukemia. He would come to Mass with me during the weekday, and many of the seniors from our parish knew him. So when his name was announced that he was ill, that he had been diagnosed with this, it was just such an outpouring of cards and letters, one of them being from Dr. Reardon, and in his card to me, he sent what it was obviously a very well-loved and well-worn blessed relic of Father Solanus. We had also received a card, among many, from the seniors from my home parish, St. Anastasia in Troy. One of the dear senior women from the church, she also sent a blessed relic. And of course, my mother has always had very strong devotion, and we had one from Mom as well, that at the time of his diagnosis in the hospital, we pinned one to his hospital gown, one to his bed, and just he was surrounded, of course, by prayers and love. And although he, certainly did have the cancer, his blood work showed definitively that he had leukemia. Once his treatments began, the doctors still are not able to explain why he got through the effects of the chemotherapy so incredibly well. Throughout the whole 3-year course of treatment, he required only one blood transfusion, which from many of the parents that we had spoken with, it was not uncommon for the children to have to go through 40, 50, 60 transfusions just because of the effects of the chemotherapy. He never was ill a day as far as, being nauseous or taken very ill from the effects of the chemotherapy. And, most notably after the 3 years, which is a typical treatment period for boys with ALL, his blood counts rebounded immediely. They had throughout his treatment, but even after his treatments ended and he was on his own, his body was on its own defenses to stay cancer-free, the doctors just turned to my parents and I and said, we really can't explain why his counts are that of a normal child. It's as if he never had it. And of course, we all knew he certainly did have it, but I have no doubt that the prayers of intervention to Blessed Father Solanus were instrumental. And to this day, he is a healthy, well, cancer-free young man. He'll be 20 in January. And as I had shared with someone recently, he just did a wonderful thing in honoring Father Solanus by taking on the name of Solanus for his confirmation name when he made his confirmation in 9th grade. So there's no doubt in my mind he's been touched and mantled and protected in a way that defies medical explanation. So that's my story.